He stares at you from the canvas, a stern countenance, eyes locked, lips taut and solemn, no hint of joy. His name, perhaps lost in time, but his face lives on. What secret lies behind that frozen expression? Was it fear, faith, or something deeper? In the next moments, we'll uncover why medieval people rarely smiled in portraits, and why that silence spoke volumes. In medieval Europe, open smiles in portraits were almost unheard of. Artists avoided them not just for style, but for meaning. A smile could be read as frivolous, weak, even immoral. The face in a portrait was meant to show seriousness, status, inner virtue, not passing emotion. For the elite, a somber face signified power. Smiling might betray vulnerability. Portraits were statements, a way to show strength and control. A ruler, a knight, a churchman. Their expression had to reflect dignity, not delight. Religion also shaped expression. The church viewed laughter and smiles as linked to pride, vanity, or sinful impulses. In a world ruled by faith, emotional restraint was a virtue. A devout sitter would prefer a pose reflecting piety, not pleasure. Beyond symbolism, a smile could be misunderstood, or even dangerous. Courtiers who smiled too freely risked mockery, rumors, or suspicion. Chroniclers sometimes mention nobles chastised for inappropriate laughter. In portraiture, silence was safer. Art wasn't about capturing a fleeting emotion, it was about eternity. A portrait wasn't a selfie, it was a monument to the soul. The sitter expected to be remembered centuries later, so the artist painted not life as it was, but life as it should appear, calm, wise, unchanging. A smile, fleeting and imperfect, didn't belong to eternity. Even if artists wanted to, many couldn't paint a convincing smile. The skill to show muscles in motion, the subtle folds around the mouth, all that came much later. Medieval technique focused on symbolism, not anatomy. Lips were lines, not living flesh. That's why most faces looked carved from stone. Before portraits, most faces in art belonged to saints, kings, or the Virgin Mary. These weren't meant to look human, they were icons of divinity. When secular portraits began to appear in the 14th and 15th centuries, artists still borrowed that divine seriousness. Emotion simply didn't fit the sacred style they knew. Then came something shocking. A woman with a faint, mysterious smile. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa wasn't just beautiful, she was unsettling. People had never seen such subtle emotion on a painted face. Her smile seemed alive, almost breathing. It marked a turning point when art dared to show inner life again. But not everyone admired her. Some found her face disturbing, neither laughing nor serious, as one critic put it. After centuries of solemnity, even a slight smile looked unnatural. For them, it was as if the painting itself were mocking God's order. A smile was no longer innocence, it was rebellion. For most medieval people, smiling had a low-class reputation. Chronicles mention fools grinning without reason and drunk peasants laughing in taverns. Nobles, meanwhile, kept their lips sealed. A calm face showed discipline, something peasants supposedly lacked. In portraits, that distinction mattered. Silence meant superiority. And then there were teeth, or rather, the lack of them. Poor hygiene, infections, and diets full of grit made mouths something to hide. By age 30, even the rich often had blackened or missing teeth. No wonder artists avoided open smiles. They weren't charming, they were horrifying. Portraits weren't personal keepsakes, they were political weapons. A duke's face had to project strength, control, and wisdom. Smiling could destroy that illusion. Every brushstroke was propaganda, showing power through restraint. The message was simple: I don't need to smile. I command respect. Even in death, people kept their composure. Posthumous portraits and death masks always showed serene faces, never smiles. Grief was private, dignity was eternal. In that silence, they believed, the soul's calm was preserved forever. Then came the Renaissance, and with it, a revolution in how people saw themselves. Humanism replaced fear with curiosity. Artists began painting not just saints and rulers, but merchants, scholars, even lovers. Emotion slowly returned to the human face. People wanted to look alive again. By the 16th and 17th centuries, the smile quietly returned. Women were painted with soft expressions, children with curiosity, and men with confidence instead of sternness. Artists finally saw emotion not as weakness, but as humanity. A smile became part of storytelling, not scandal. During the Enlightenment, a smile even became a mark of intelligence. It hinted at self-awareness, wit, or irony. Thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot described laughter as a sign of reason, not sin. The human face had finally reclaimed its freedom. Today, we see those medieval portraits and think they look cold. But in their world, a calm face meant dignity, not gloom. They weren't unhappy, they were serious about being remembered. Their silence was their armor. In every unsmiling face, there's a message from another time. Control your passions, prove your virtue, earn your place in heaven. What seems like repression was to them strength. To smile was easy. To remain still divine. Now, we grin for cameras to prove we're happy. They stared into eternity to prove they were worthy. 1,000 years later, the difference between our smiles and theirs says everything about how humanity changed and what we lost when we started posing for happiness.